They say that scoring goals is the hardest job in football. Then again, they also say that about being a linesman, don't they? So, what do they know? Who even are they, and why are they so obsessed with identifying the toughest job in football? Seems a bit suspicious. Anyway, linesmen and women have VAR now, so they've got a get out of jail free card when they bugger things up. So it definitely can't be them. If we're being honest, the hardest job in football is either being Barcelona's accountant or Cristiano Ronaldo's lawyers, and the hardest working must surely be Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting's agent. Give that man a knighthood. But anyway, I digress. The point being, whether it is the hardest job in football or not, scoring goals is tough. Just ask Adama Traore or Shane Long. Between them, in 57 games this season for Southampton, Wolves and Barcelona, those two have managed a combined total of just 3 goals, which is, quite frankly, rubbish. You wouldn't get that from any of the players in today's video though, as I have put together a starting 11 made up of the highest scorers in Europe this season. Only players who play in Europe's top 5 leagues are eligible. I know that's a bit harsh on the Premier Liga and the Eredivisie, but I have to draw an arbitrary line somewhere, otherwise I end up with Dave in the Suffolk Farm Machinery North East Division 3, the 58-year-old keeper who takes penalties for Turnip Grove FC. But I am including goals in all competitions, just only by players who play for teams in one of the top 5 leagues, which, I will remind you, as per UEFA coefficient rankings, is the Premier League, La Liga, the Bundesliga, Serie A, and Liga. Players are only eligible in the positions that they have played in most frequently this season, and in the event of ties, I will go to assists as the first tiebreaker, and then to the fewest games played if they still cannot be split. Here is the highest scoring 11 in Europe's top 5 leagues this season. Goalkeeper, Bono. No, not that one, obviously. That's better. It is not the start that we had wanted, but it is the start that we've got. Since unlike last season, when both Bono and Alisson Becker managed to find the back of the net, no goalkeeper who plays in one of Europe's top 5 leagues has scored a goal this season, as far as I'm aware. Bono, who did score last season, features this time around on account of the fact that he has made the most assists for Sevilla, 2, of any keeper in Europe's top divisions. Real name Yacine Bouno, Bono was born in Canada but moved to Morocco with his family as a child, and both of his assists this season came in La Liga against Osasuna and Real Betis, both coming in home wins for the Andalusians. Other goalkeepers with assists to their name this season include the likes of Alisson, Mike Maignan, Manuel Neuer, and YouTube sensation Ben Foster, who is an absolutely wicked bloke, mate, honestly. If we broaden our horizons a little and move beyond just Europe's top 5 leagues, and I will do an entire 11 doing just that at the end, there have been 20 goal-scoring goalkeepers this season, Ate Punio chief among them, having bagged 4 goals in only 3 outings this season, and yes, you did hear that right. Right back, Nahuel Molina. Argentina right back Nahuel Molina has been linked with a move to Arsenal this summer, and if the Gunners do get their hands on the 24-year-old, they will be signing a defender who has scored more goals than all but 3 of their players this season. Molina, who made his name out on loan in Argentina from Boca Juniors, has scored 8 goals in 36 games in all competitions this season. Firmly in contention to start for Argentina at the upcoming World Cup, if he can get in ahead of Sevilla's Gonzalo Montiel, Molina has been with Udinese since the summer of 2020. He bagged 2 goals during his debut campaign, but he has struck 8 times, 7 of which have come in Serie A, along with making 4 assists for the 12th place Serie A side this season. Molina joined Udinese for nothing in 2020, but now they reportedly want £25.5 million if Arsenal are to sign him over the coming weeks or months. Centre-back, Andre Girotto. Continuing the South American theme of our back 4 at this early stage, I think it would be fair to describe Andre Girotto as the least well-known player within this 11. Like a lot of goal-scoring defenders, Girotto is no stranger to playing in midfield. In fact, prior to this season, he had played predominantly as a defensive midfielder. However, in 40 games for Nantes this season, Girotto has played at centre-back 25 times, and in midfield only 15 times, thus making him primarily a centre-back for the purposes of this 11. What's more, all but one of Giroto's goals have come in games that he played in as a centre-back. In total, the uncapped Brazilian, who has been with Nantes since 2017, has scored 6 goals and made 1 assist in Ligue 1 this season, the most of any centre-back in the division. That is the same number of league goals as Lionel Messi has scored in France this season, albeit Giroto has only bagged 1 assist, whilst Messi has 13. Still, I highly doubt that Giroto expected to be compared to Messi in terms of either goals or assists when the current campaign began, but here we are. Centre-back, Domenico Crescito. Making his second inclusion in one of these 11s that I have made in each of the last 3 seasons, following a season out in the cold, Domenico Crescito is no stranger to finding the back of the net at Genoa. Since returning to the club on a free transfer from Zenit St. Petersburg in the summer of 2018, the former Italian international has scored 20 goals in 107 games in total, mixing his time between playing at left-back and centre-back. Now aged 35, Crescito was once renowned for his speed at getting up and down the left flank as either a fullback or even as a wing-back, but he has played slightly more football at centre-back than he has done as a fullback this season, thus qualifying him for my 11. Unlike the other defenders in this 11, such as Andre Giroto, who has scored a couple of thunderous long-range free kicks this season, all 6 of Domenico Crescito's goals this season have come from the penalty spot. They all count though. Left back, Alberto Moreno. The joint highest scoring defender in La Liga this season, tied with Pau Torres, who very narrowly missed out on a spot in this 11 by virtue of the fact that Andre Giroto has played fewer games than him. Alberto Moreno has scored 6 goals and made 4 assists in only 35 appearances this season. That record is made all the more impressive, given that the 29-year-old has been out injured since March, with his second cruciate ligament injury in less than 2 years. The first of those setbacks ruled Moreno out for more than 6 months, and it is likely, sadly, that this one will sideline him for just as long. Here's hoping that he is back in action as soon as possible, back among the goals, and back sporting that tattoo of a chimpanzee with a gun, wearing headphones that no one quite understands. Defensive midfield, Jorginho. Starting in defensive or holding midfield, Italian international Jorginho has scored 9 goals this season, and all 9 of them have come from the penalty spot. That doesn't count goals scored in penalty shootouts, where Jorginho has scored another couple of goals, both against Liverpool. Meanwhile, he has failed to score just 1 penalty this season, against West Ham when he was denied by Lucas Fabianski from just 12 yards out. The Italian was also denied by Jordan Pickford in the Euro 2020 final shootout. Across his entire career, Jorginho has scored 49 goals, 38 of which have been penalties. He perhaps is not the most interesting of inclusions for precisely that reason, but holding midfielders tend not to score many goals. Interestingly enough, Fabinho was actually Jorginho's closest rival for a spot in this 11, having scored 8 goals this season, and only 3 of the Brazilians have come from the penalty spot. Central midfield, Kevin De Bruyne. If there is one criticism that I have seen levelled at Kevin De Bruyne in previous seasons, albeit I think that it is an extremely flimsy one, it has been that he doesn't score enough goals. In his most prolific season prior to the current campaign, De Bruyne scored 16 goals, always renowned more for creating goals than converting them. I still think that is an excellent output for someone who plays predominantly in central midfield, not even as a number 10, but this season, De Bruyne has scored a career high of 19 goals, in addition to making 13 assists in only 44 games. The best midfielder in the world as far as I'm concerned, and have been for the last 3 or 4 years, De Bruyne scored his first hat-trick for Manchester City against Wolves last week, the 3rd fastest hat-trick in Premier League history, taking him only 24 minutes before he added a 4th, just for good measure. Right wing, Mohamed Salah. Making it 3 Premier League players in a row in this 11, after there had been none in our back 5, Mohamed Salah is a very predictable inclusion. Absolutely lethal ever since he arrived at Liverpool, Salah scored 44 goals during his debut campaign at Anfield, and he has scored 155 goals for the club in total. This season could still become Salah's second most prolific on Merseyside, with Liverpool having a couple of games still to come, and Salah already having bagged 30 goals in 49 games. Salah is the 7th highest scorer from Europe's top 5 leagues this season, in any position, though at one time he was right up there at the very top. The Egyptian scored 10 goals in his first 9 Premier League games this season, including a hat-trick against Manchester United, and only a bit of a barren spell, at least by his standards, since the beginning of March, has prevented him from having a really off-the-charts, barnstorming type of season. It has still been pretty spectacular though, and 30 goals and 16 assists ensures that no one comes close, with Riyad Mahrez actually being his closest competitor on the right flank. Attacking midfield, Christopher Nkunku. Absolutely electric this season, Christopher Nkunku has scored more goals during the 2021-22 campaign than Mohamed Salah. In fact, only 3 players in Europe's top 5 leagues, all 3 of whom are among the most highly regarded players on the planet, have scored more goals than the Frenchman. Signed by RB Leipzig for just €13 million from PSG in 2019, Nkunku has still only won 2 caps for France, but his current form will make it hard for Didier Deschamps and Europe's biggest clubs to overlook him. Playing predominantly as either a number 10 or as a second striker, in behind Andre Silva and often alongside Emil Forsberg, Nkunku has scored a quite incredible 34 goals in 51 games this season, in addition to making a whopping 20 assists. That is Ballon d'Or contention talk-worthy form, and you could be forgiven for thinking that a reported £54 million asking price for the 24-year-old within the current market is a bit of a bargain. Left wing, Heung-min Son. The second highest scorer in the Premier League this season, and the highest from open play, Heung-min Son is a phenomenon. A manager's dream is how I have long described the Korean, who is intelligent, technically excellent, and never seems to cause any trouble. After taking a season to really find his feet in the Premier League, Son's output over the last 6 seasons has been outstanding. This season has been the best of the lot though, as Son has struck 21 times in the Premier League and 22 times in all competitions, with 1 game still to go. It should be said that there was very little to split a number of left wingers in Europe's top 5 leagues, whether that be Sadio Mane, Vinicius Jr., Raheem Sterling, or Luis Diaz, if you are to count his goals for Porto at least. But whilst there might not be a huge gulf between them, it speaks volumes about Son's talent and consistency, given the calibre of the players that I just mentioned, that he still comes out on top. Centre forward, Robert Lewandowski. The highest scoring elite level footballer on the planet in recent years, since the start of the 2019-20 season, and since turning 30 years old, Robert Lewandowski has scored 153 goals in only 133 games. In every one of the last 3 seasons, Lewandowski has averaged better than a goal a game. It has been 3 years since Lionel Messi last did that, over the course of an entire season, and 7 years since Cristiano Ronaldo did it. Lewandowski has been one of the best strikers in the world for more than a decade, but to have kept on getting better with age, and to be performing at the levels that he currently is, as he approaches the age of 34, that is arguably his greatest achievement. This season, Lewandowski has scored 50 goals in 46 games, but he recently stated that he would not be signing a new deal at the Allianz Arena. Bayern now have 2 options, either sell him now or lose Lewandowski for nothing next summer. But the amount that his goals are worth to them, they may well opt to lose him for nothing. That is the highest scoring 11 from Europe's top 5 leagues this season, with honourable mentions owed to the likes of Reece James, Rami Bensebaini, Pau Torres, James Maddison, Dimitri Payet, Phil Foden, Mario Pasalic, Karim Benzema, Kylian Mbappe, Ciro Immobile, Wissam Ben Yedder, Riyad Mahrez, Luis Diaz, Sadio Mane, Vinicius Jr., and Diogo Jota, all of whom only fairly narrowly missed out. If you were to take off the shackles of the Big 5 leagues, it would be Finland's Arte Paunio in goal with 4 goals, James Tavernier at right back, who has scored 15 goals for Rangers this season, Costa Rica's Giancarlo Aguero, and Colombia's Andre Cuellar at centre-back as a pairing with 10 and 12 goals respectively this season, Aleix Cistero, who has scored 13 goals in Andorra's top flight this season as a left-back, Danny Fomin of Dinamo Moscow, with 12 goals this season, starts in defensive midfield. Slovenian international Jasmin Kurtic gets the nod in front of him in central midfield, having scored a sensational 18 goals for PAOK in Greece this season. Mohamed Salah retains his spot on the right wing, as does Christopher Nkunku in attacking midfield. Red Star Belgrade's Alexander Katai takes the place of Heung-min Son on the left flank, having scored 26 goals this season. And finally, Robert Lewandowski makes it 3 players from the Big 5 leagues who retain their places in the Open League 11. That is it for both 11s, and don't ever say that I don't spoil you. It is interesting how few players make repeat appearances in these 11s, what with this being the 3rd season running that I've made this video, especially in defence, holding and central midfield, and obviously in net, where players seem to have slightly freakish seasons where they score a hatful of goals but struggle to maintain that kind of output, unless they are their team's first choice penalty taker. Thank you all very much as ever for watching. It is much appreciated. If you enjoyed today's video, which obviously I hope was the case, then feel free to hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure that you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for HITC Sevens. You can also find me on social media via the username @HITC Sevens on both Instagram and on Twitter.